How you doing? My name is Thomas Lucas. This is the Equal Justice Now podcast. We have another episode here with some real things going on in the world. The golden arches are being looked at right now. Today, I have some of my OGs on board with us today. We have James F. Bird Jr., Kahari Nash, and Daryl Bird, all who are going to kind of educate us all on what's going on with McDonald's and systemic racism. How did the brand that we've all been kind of raised on to grab a cheeseburger or whatever it is, fries, McFluffy, whatever they're selling these days, we've been growing with McDonald's, and it's important, I think, that we know everything that's going on behind the scenes on the business end. So, James, could you help kick off the ball on, what is happening right now? What's the issue with McDonald's?
So thank you very much for taking this time out. The way you introduced me as an OG is a tribute from a young dynamic brother like yourself, and I do appreciate that. It segues into the why. The why is my brother and I, with the backing of Brother Nash that you'll hear from later, we decided to take a stand. And that stand started really during the George Floyd debacle murder. And the reason why I point back to being an OG and how much I appreciate that is during the marches we had first here in Memphis, I noticed it was a great turnout, but I noticed there weren't a lot of old heads out supporting the young, vibrant folks that were marching. Subsequently, went over to Louisville, Kentucky, happened to be there, and Breonna Taylor, as you know, had been murdered, and there was another march. Again, a lot of vibrant young people out pushing for the right thing, but not a lot of old heads. So we started to take a look in January. There's two executives that filed they filed a lawsuit against McDonald's. And both of these ladies were in very high places, and they were able to produce a lot of information and documents that began to solidify with us things that we thought we knew and things that we felt, but seeing them, and I call them the whistleblowers, seeing them come to life and the information they had, my brother and I, Daryl, along with Brother Nash, decided, if not now, when? If not now, when? I have been a McDonald's operator for some 31 years. I have been blessed to stand on the shoulders of many, many, many who fought, died, sacrificed to make my life and my way more possible. And so as we began to look, at one point there were 377 Black operators in McDonald's, owner operators as they call them, and now there's less than 180. Startling fact. If not now, when? There is a gap in sales. Our white counterparts average $2.9 million. The Black folks like me average 2 million. Now, you do the math. How is that possible in 2021 to have that tight gap? And so based on, those two things, we just wanted to take a stand and educate the people that this is not right. We did file a class action lawsuit for current operators that's pending right now in federal court, Chicago. And we're just trying to stand to make things right. The Nashville region, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, but our region has the absolute worst cash flow, bottom line of any place in the country for McDonald's. And that's $140,000 per store. Now, if you do a job, have the same inspections, you everything's the same, but you have less sales and you take home less money to the tune of $140,000 per store, you start to say, why? And as we start to look around all over the country, all of us can't be wrong. And so we decided to stand.
Sorry, I was muted for a bit. So let me get this straight. It sounds like we're talking about ownership, and we're talking about ownership of, one of, if not the biggest franchise in the world, maybe. And you're saying that for a specific group of people, race of people, doing business with McDonald's isn't so easy. Is that what we're getting at for those that may not be following all the way? Are we saying that there is some institutional racism maybe going on within the business, behind the scenes business of the Golden Arches, McDonald's?
I would say absolutely. And just as a maybe something to think about, let's say you took some red marbles and some green marbles, and you just put them all together and you shook them up in a big barrel and you let them all out. And how do all the green, the good stores, the good cash flow stores happen to go to our white counterparts, and the lower come to the black folks all over the country?
So
happenstance.
So I know you're explaining it, right? I know you're explaining it, but there's always that one person out there that no matter how you break it down, 9 times, they don't get it until the 10th. All 9 times it went over their head. So I just want to make sure. So what exactly is happening with the money aspect? Like, are we saying that it's costing more money for African American McDonald's owners to purchase their McDonald's food, and therefore the profits aren't in the same area as other McDonald's or other backgrounds when it comes to owners? Or like, what exactly are we saying on the financial part that makes this an issue?
What we're saying is, and then I'll yield.
Sure.
And I'm gonna make it very plain, that the location that our white counterparts get have higher volume with lower rents than what the black folks enjoy.
Understood. Daryl, I know you were going to hop in.
No, well, I was just thinking, Jim was talking, and first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity, to be on Equal Justice Now. When I think of what we're going through and what we're partaking upon, it is clearly about what you were all about, Equal Justice Now. And so what Jim was saying, I know you said for that 10th time, and I thought of something, and I think of something. Say, for instance, you and I buy a house, but we have to qualify for this house. So we have to go to a class. I'm black, you're white. We both go to the same class. We both qualify. We do a great job. We're getting ready to buy this house. We went through all of the parameters together, finished everything. The last couple of steps are, you have to go to the bank. So I send you to the bank to see this one gentleman. I go to the bank, the black operator, and I get a loan, and my interest rates are maybe 8%. And I'm happy as ever because I'm getting the house. I've been approved today. We're about to close. You go to the bank, the white operator, the same banker, the same program that we went through, and your house note's going to be 3%. So for some reason, for the exact same style house, the exact same builder, the exact same qualifications, the exact same education, income, and drive, I have to pay more for the house than you. Now, if there's hundreds of us that are having to do that, after the first 1 or 2 or 3, you'll say, maybe something happened with the numbers. After 50 and 60 and 70, you start thinking that something's different. And then after this goes on hundreds of times throughout the years, you realize that something is systemically wrong. And you see it from the inside. But as you're busy just going about your business, being an owner operator, and it's a full-time 24/7 commitment that you make to the brand. But as you're going through that, you're just hustling and doing your thing and running your business. You're satisfying your customers. You're training the young people to be future leaders in the community. You're doing all the things that McDonald's says you should do. You're donating to the teams. You're doing everything that you're supposed to do. Matter of fact, people don't even know your last name. They just call you, and there's Mr. McDonald's. But then for that same thing that you're doing, the system, systemically, the way it's been developed is Black operators in the company, Black owner operators for McDonald's pay higher rents than the white owner operators. And what that means is that I have less money to grow my business with than you do. So in a couple of years, when it's time to reinvest in the business, just like Jim said, you make $140,000 less per store. So you have 2 stores, that's $280,000 you're just not allowed to get because I guess, for some reason, it looks like because you're Black, you don't get that. So when it comes time to reinvest, your reinvestment dollars are minimal. While your partner over there, your counterpart, nothing wrong with it. He's a good guy too, white guy. And he's got plenty of reinvestment money because he's been making money. You're scuffling by. So you're behind. And so that's the issue. And what really has taken it to the level for me is to that figure that Jim gave you. We had 377 Black operators when I came in 1998. It was a big push to get African Americans in. I was a product of that push to get African Americans in. But now there's 100 and less than 180. And in that same period, McDonald's has grown, I think it's 10,000 restaurants. We've lost half of our Black owner operators. McDonald's has gained 10,000 more restaurants. Something's going on with the numbers. So it's clear that when you go through and you deep dive and look through it all, the only consistent thing I find is that the Black operators are having to pay a higher cost to be in the same business. Therefore, you don't reach the same financial success. Therefore, you can't send your kids to college like you really want to because your finances aren't right. Therefore, you don't have a business or any cash to leave to your family to create your legacy that makes your next generation run better than you. So it looks like it's just the store, but it's way more than that. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, that's I think that 10th time, there won't be anyone that's not going to be clear on what's happening here. So I definitely appreciate you both, both of the Bird brothers. Kahari, you have anything you want to add to this conversation, this key moment?
Yeah, we've offered up some programmatic changes to break that systematic cycle that Daryl and Jim have been talking about. And so the thing that we wanted to do was create, McDonald's and their banks to do a Black franchise fund and let that fund run, consecutively along the 20-year lease. We understand that they would have to break it up into 7-year terms, but 3 7-year terms that run concurrently with the 20-year lease. Because these franchisees don't own these stores. They're just, the misconception is that when they hear a McDonald's owner, they only own the FF&E, the furniture, fixtures, and equipment that's in the store, and they because they're called operators, they operate the store. And so what ends up happening is that people think that they own the stores, and they do not. McDonald's owns the real estate, and basically the franchise agreement is just a sharecropping agreement, And so what we want to do is them to do like they did in 1998 is bring that number back to 377. And the way to do that is to give the Black operators growth opportunities as well as development opportunities to develop and cultivate the talent that is out here in America, in the African American community, and give them a chance. Give the existing operators a chance to make some money, and give the ones that desire to become operators, give them the ability to enter the system, and not through what McDonald's has traditionally done through what they call a business facilities lease, a BFL, which compounds the rent that it's already exorbitantly high as it is for the Black operators. And then you add another 4.6% on top of that, then it just, it just further puts them behind, So we want to break that cycle and put it on an even playing field. 30% of McDonald's gross sales comes from the Black community. McDonald's did $20.8 billion in gross revenue last year. So you're talking $6 billion.
I'm sorry,
But
Kahari. Can you? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude or cut you off, but can you say, you're perfectly fine. Your sound is fine, but can you say those numbers again?
Yeah, McDonald's did $20.8 billion in gross sales last year. 30% of it came from the Black community. So you're talking a little over $6 billion. But the Black operators only generated about $2.5 billion the way the store configurations are, and by them being in the low volume stores with the high rent. So where's that other $3.5 billion going to?
Ooh. Well, it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. So I'm just saying is, let's get it right. You know what I mean? Even on the advertising side, they don't spend 30% of the advertising budget with Black-owned advertising companies.
Absolutely.
So what I mean? So let's get that on par with the 30% of gross sales. They don't spend 30% of their philanthropic contributions with HBCUs, my Black causes and organizations, whatever they is for philanthropic. The suppliers, that's not a 30% representation of the revenue generated by suppliers. Largest supplier in the McDonald's system is called Martin Brower, and they do $32 billion a year. And I'm sure about over half of that comes from McDonald's because they supply to McDonald's worldwide.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all valuable information there. And, as an organization, Equal Justice Now, we took, some good time to think about what it was that we were going to focus on in the coming years, near future of criminal justice reform and just like reform in general of like the society that we have in front of us, that was built in such a way that like every which way you turn, you see some inconsistencies with how this group of people are being treated and that group of people and in many different areas. And one of the things that we wanted to make it a point to focus on as an organization was bringing to light the extremities of like, what comes behind systemic racism and, how like unbelievable it is that so many people don't realize what those words mean and how they take action in society today. And I think that this McDonald's situation is just one of the many ways that systemic racism plagues our community and our options in life, our chance at success and business. I know I graduated with a business degree and marketing degree, and I'd probably be going crazy right now if I was a McDonald's owner of my color. And I know I've got the marketing game plan down pat. I know I'm with the best brand out there, and the money is just not feeling right, and my doors are, the driveway is pumping. I would be going crazy right now. So I 100% get it, Mr. James. I think that anyone watching this is going to get it if they care about, we say we can't reform until we are informed. And no matter what you're trying to reform, you got to be informed on it. So, I don't know where we're headed in this fight with McDonald's. I don't know where they're going to take it, but I do know that the more people that get informed on this matter, the more people that pay attention to this matter, the higher the chances that we see some kind of change come about. I don't want to talk you guys to death on my thought process on this. I could probably go all day and get all deep and passionate because I see it so much. But do you guys have any lasting thoughts? Do you have any action items that you want people to leave this interview with, this podcast with, when it comes to this topic?
You know, I actually do. There's a big piece, and I have to give kudos to the whistleblowers. At one point, Don Thompson was the CEO of McDonald's, and during his tenure, he built 47 Black officers within the corporate structure of McDonald's, and that number miraculously fell to 7 people. So executives, none. I mean, it just dwindled. And since we started this battle, McDonald's has tried to hire a few. So we've been able to make a little change in that. But we cannot stop. This is not, I have a friend, Daryl and I have a friend, Reggie Webb. He's out in California, Black operator, dynamic brother. And he said early on, when he was the president of the National Black McDonald Operator Association, we're not trying to hurt the goose that laid the golden egg. We just want some more eggs. We want an equal chance. We're not talking about being ahead. We're just trying to play catch up. And in 2001, it is very disheartening to even have to talk about playing catch up.
Yeah.
My brother, Daryl, do you have some
Powerful
thoughts?
words. Powerful words. I think a lot of things cross my mind, and it does feel good to have that term OG, because I look at that as a term of endearment, and it means that you've survived. It's not an easy thing just to survive in the culture that we are living in America. And so we have done the good work that we thought we were supposed to do. We did the education route. We were good men, good businessmen, family men, good spiritual men and leaders and motivators and role models to many, many kids that we've had a chance to build their lives up when they were low, when they didn't have any self-esteem, when they came in our door. They didn't even believe in themselves. And we were able to train them not only to do McDonald's, but train them to do life, and to have them come back and thank us for the work we did. But now when I had a chance to see firsthand, Jim and I, we were involved in a Black Lives Matter march here in Memphis. And it was a powerful evening. Like you said, we were the oldest people out there. I felt like a dinosaur in the middle of a movement that moved me from within. And then we went to Louisville, Kentucky, because we were struck by the same thing. We marched with Breonna Taylor and that whole movement. And there was another gentleman, his name right now, I'm sorry, but he was in Louisville as well, and he was killed. And I thought of these young people and the way they were out, and the love that they showed, and the power that they showed. And I knew that if I just sat quietly and allowed my life as an owner-operator to go, and to have a perception that you did all these wonderful things, but the main reason you get into business is to have the opportunity to achieve financial success, especially when you do everything correctly. And to know that we could have these issues fixed, because as I said, I came in 1998 because they needed a couple of Black operators. My first store wasn't a regular McDonald's, it was a gas station. And then one half was a gas station, one half was McDonald's. And I was happy to be an owner operator, but man, I sure wanted a regular McDonald's like everybody else had, like my brother had. He had a full service, full big, drive-through and everything. I just had like a snack bar. And I lost money on my very first deal. But I was told by my then regional manager, his name was Ted Lyon, and I had turned down a couple of deals with McDonald's. And he said, "You'll never be an owner operator, period. You should go buy a mailbox, etc." And that drove me even more. So then when I got that first McDonald's, I was driven because, I was told this will never happen. And so I came in with turmoil in 1998, but let's back up 30 years before that. Prior to 1968, Black people weren't allowed to work at McDonald's. And that was just the way it was. It's just the facts. So in Cleveland, Ohio, 1968, there was a white gentleman that owned 4 restaurants in the Black neighborhood. These brothers and sisters got together and said, no one's going to come in these restaurants. They basically barricaded the restaurants. The gentleman couldn't open his business. McDonald's was, what the heck's going on? So they find this gentleman named Herman Petty. He became the first Black McDonald's owner operator. He's from Chicago. They taught him the hamburger business, and he became number 1. That was turmoil, 1968. 30 years later, I came in under turmoil, 1998. Here we are in 2021, and this is the exact same turmoil. We're talking about paying higher rents that you can fix with the stroke of a pen, rents that you can fix within moments. And Jim mentioned that some good things have happened since the lawsuit's been filed. Some African-American executives got hired. They got a couple of directors. It's beautiful to see how quickly things can move. I just hope that we can have that same level of tenacity when it comes to lowering these rents, reducing these rents, and making things fair and equitable for Black McDonald's owner operators, because that's what's paramount to me. And I will do whatever it takes to make sure that the next generation comes behind me, because I stand on other people's shoulders. And I'm thankful. If it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't be an owner operator. He gave me a shot, but someone gave him a shot when they put the idea in his head. And then my dad was a businessman, and our grandfather was a businessman, and our uncles were business people. So that's what we do. Mr. Nash, he's a businessman. And so we look at things and see how big this is, not just for McDonald's, but how big this is for America. Let's fix this. We have to fix this systemic thing that's been built in from the beginning that we pretend we don't know about. We have to fix it and make it a level playing field. And we're not asking for anything additional. You hear me on here asking, can I just get some equality for myself and my family? Can my family go to college too?
You're asking for fair business.
That's all. That's it.
Well, gentlemen, if you all don't have anything else to offer to the conversation, I think that's a great thing to end on right there. I mean, all this fighting and all this marching that we're doing, the whole time we're marching and we're fighting for equality.
We got more.
We're fighting for equality.
More, yeah,
I'm sorry.
We do have though, Tom. No, I was saying we do have more to talk about.
Oh yeah. Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm sorry. I think we'll make sure that this part is edited out. I think your side is a little bit more. Your audio and your video is a little lag, so that's why I couldn't tell. But I'm sorry. We'll make sure it's edited all good. Problem. They won't even know that happened.
Okay. So in the midst of all the lawsuits, the discrimination lawsuits that were filed by the Birds and others, McDonald's increased their marketing budget by $200 million. So in essence, they want to try to drown us out, and then they want to change. They want to repaint their image based on the lawsuits being there. That they are a friend. They're still a friend and brother and sister to the Black community.
Okay, let's pause for a second. Don't pause anything, Lowe's. Kahari, your connection is a bit tough, and what you're shooting at us is very key information. Is it possible, Daryl or James, for one of you two to reiterate?
Give me 1 minute, and I'll be back at the house.
Okay. No problem.
1 minute. 1 minute. I'm pulling up. Just bad signal down here sometimes.
We're just fighting to be equal.
That's right. We just want equality. It's crazy when you have to establish an organization that is solely titled Equal Justice Now. It's just when you got to ask for that, it's another level.
So much ingrained into the fabric that you have to change that narrative and let them see that we can be so much better with us. We built the country, so we know exactly what we're doing. So
absolutely.
Better. But
what's kind of weird while we wait for Kahari. Last night I had a telephone call about 9:30, 9:45, and it was a white operator that I went through training with, and he was like, "Man, I saw your picture in Chicago," and he said, "I don't really know what's going on, but I'll tell you what, you got a friend in me, and I sure am glad that you're standing up." And then I started telling him about my existing stores, and he was like, "Man, I don't know how you make money on that. My lowest volume store is $2 million, and I can't make any money on that. And I got one that's 1.6 million, and I'm paying 13.5% rent. He's paying 8.5% rent." But it was interesting that he understood the numbers, and he was like, I understand, and I'm really sorry about it.
And they're rigged in his favor.
He's a 78-year-old white guy.
Multi-millionaire. And him
He's
and
got
Jim
21 stores. Yeah.
Man.
Wow. Wow.
We
I don't
get
know,
lucky.
guys. I don't know. I think McDonald's got some answering to do.
They got
One thing
a lot of
one thing
answering to do.
one thing they have done recently, well, since October, they hired a lady, and she's going around trying to find operators that will speak up and speak highly of McDonald's, and then they film it and then try to use that, to make it like, well, everything they're trying to do is good. And I think what they're trying to do is good. It's just you should have done that, and you should have been good beforehand, not just try to blackwash this all of a sudden.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kahari, it looks like you're good on your end now.
Yeah, I'm walking in now.
But yeah, no, it's all good. That we in the beginning, with these podcasts, we were trying to do them live and have audience be able to watch and so forth. And this was the beginning of the coronavirus and still trying to keep the messaging going. And we realized, like, no, we don't need to go live with these things. We need to record them because we're always going to have some kind of technical difficulty and things like that. So we can record them, get them right, get them edited, and make sure that the message isn't damaged in any way.
Good.
So we're good. We're good. We're good. Guess we'll just wait on Kahari. And we're coming up. Yeah, we're coming up now on the 30-minute mark. We should definitely try to close out in like 5 or so minutes because with it being an educational piece, we wanted to just hit with the information. You know what I'm saying? But definitely, Kahari, go ahead and end us off.
Okay.
With your thoughts.
No, what I'm saying is that in the midst of the discrimination lawsuits from the Birds and the 77 and the two former executives, Gartha Hines and Neil, McDonald increased their marketing budget by $200 million. And they did all these celebrity endorsed food meals, like the Travis Scott meal, Cactus Jack, and then the Jay Vlavin. They paid Travis Scott $5 million up front and then gave him a percentage of the merchandising sales. So he ended up making $20 million in 30 days. And so if you go back and look at the average sales of Blacks, look how long it would take them to make $30 million. Gross sales now, not net, gross. It would take them 15 years in order to do that, So why would you take from them and give to him in order to enhance your brand and your sales? You're not doing anything to help them. So why aren't you doing anything directly to help them? So they did fix a few rents and do a couple of things, but they don't make up for all the misgivings in the past, So they need to come to the table correctly and come with an adequate, settlement, and also implement programmatic changes that we had outlined to them. So when you start looking at McDonald's from top down and bottom up, it doesn't look too good. The arches look like they're upside down and they are on their neck. Not for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, but if they've been on their neck on a 20-year lease, that 20-year lease is the knee on their neck. So they need to fix that, and get their knee and their arch off their neck.
Well, if they don't get that, then I think they just don't want to get it.
But they said that they ran this a little minute commercial saying that George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery look like them. you know. But we looking at two McDonald's operators, so who looks like them? Are they looking like the black operators that they're taking advantage of? Nah, not at all. So stop taking advantage of them. You know what I mean? Give them an equal opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Your organization, Equal Justice Now, give them equal equity now.
Equal equity, all these E's.
Yeah.
Equal justice now. With that being said, fellas, I really commend you all for standing up against, you know, a huge franchise like McDonald's, and you know, and look, you know, in these instances where you have some good men fighting for equality, there's always those who find a way to paint them as the bad guys. You know, let me be clear. We're not going to allow that here. And what's right is right. And nothing is being asked for that hasn't been earned. And furthermore, nothing's being asked for that just shouldn't just already be due. I mean, we're just talking about equality and getting the same percentages. And if you're selling a McDonald's cheeseburger over here, and you got some cheeseburgers over here, they're the same prices. And they're selling at the same rates, if not better over here. So McDonald's, let's keep our business square and fair.
So to get the word out, also we launched a Black clergy awareness campaign in Memphis on Sunday, February 28th at Oak Grove Baptist Church. And we got the full support of Pastor Donald Johnson, who's also the chaplain for the Memphis Grizzlies. And then we launched the Don't Be McFool campaign in Chicago in front of the corporate headquarters on the 22nd of February. And McDonald's has supposedly sent the word to us, which we have yet to be able to validate, that there was actually going to be a meeting on the 23rd at 9:30 with McDonald's. It came to us through a third party from the Rainbow Push Coalition, and we ain't seen no push, and we ain't been pulling. So you know what I mean? It just they know how to get in touch with us, you know. So let's just let that be known, you know. And we're gonna launch a HBCU awareness campaign very soon, you know, because we want to let the college students know that McDonald's hasn't been fair to them, you know, as far as scholarships and internships and, you know, across the board. You know what I mean? McDonald's just needs to get their act together, you know what I mean? Fair and equal, you know, opportunity for all, you know what I mean? You know, it said, the Bible said, what you done unto the least of them, you've done it unto me. So, you know what I mean? We the least of them, you know what I mean? They say the last will be first and the first will be last. So let's get some first business going on, you know what I mean?
Let's start there. Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I hope you all have a peaceful day. We are with you and behind you on this fight, and we appreciate you and thank you for hopping on the Equal Justice Now podcast. My name is Thomas Lucas. You can view this episode on YouTube at equaljusticenow.com or on our website at www.equaljusticenow.org. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. When can we look? When will it air?
So we're looking at, we just got a new team on our editor. So we'll go ahead and get them on board. We're probably looking at a release by next week, the latest.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, next week, the latest, the end of next week, the latest. That's if we have some change. Well, they're going to send us the first edit, And I know for sure we're gonna have to go back in there just because of how kind of it was staticky a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in there and tell them exactly what to take out so nobody looks crazy or anything like that. And then what I'll do is before we go live with it on our social medias and stuff, I'll send you all a locked version of the video, the finished video, so you can approve of it and make sure it's what you want to go out there. And then from there, once I get your okay, we'll go ahead and put it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So let's try to get that out the way. Yeah, for sure. We'll get that out the way this coming week. And then let's if not today or tomorrow, let's get back and figure out what's the next step, as far as Equal Justice Now and you guys and trying to help, skpread your wings on this topic.
Oh, I wanted to add that we were calling on the Black Caucus and to call a congressional hearing on systematic racism.
Oh, well, technically we're still recording, so we can use that.
So, all right. So we're calling on the Congresswoman Joyce Betty, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters, the chair of the House Financial Services Committee, to call us hearing on systematic racism and subpoena McDonald's CEO Chris Kempinski, Joe Erlinger, President McDonald's USA, and the entire board of McDonald's, especially John Rogers, because he made a bold and arrogant statement in his op-ed in the Fortune magazine in October, saying that these Black operators had $7.5 million worth of equity in their business. And I'm still looking in the Bird's financials trying to find that $7.5 million. I can see where they grossed over $300 million in sales over their career for McDonald's, but I only see less than 1% of that, So, and so you got to do some house cleaning and let's start at that level, Let's start at the CEO and the board level, and let it filter down throughout the whole corporation, because until we check the box like they check, they like to check the black box, but we want to check the box on systematic racism with McDonald's and say McDonald's need to be called before our legislatures, our constituents, on Capitol Hill, and they need to be grilled about what they have done to these Black operators across the country.
Understood, 100%. We're gonna have a hell of with every podcast we put out. Before we put the episode out, we put a promo for it out, 30 to 60 second promo video that kind of gives a brief understanding of what that episode is gonna be about. With the help of you guys and especially you, Kahari, you got a bunch of punchlines in here that we're gonna use for that promo video. And then we'll go ahead and kick it out to the public.
Let me add one last thing.
Yes, sir.
Let me add one last thing, if you would. When we filed the lawsuit, the class action, the chairman of McDonald's came on TV and proclaimed arrogantly that McDonald's had made more Black millionaires than any body on the planet. Now just think of that. How arrogant can you be to say that? If you look at just the Dallas Cowboys, look at the NFL, the NBA, the rappers, the music industry, the film industries, other private businesses, how can you make that type claim arrogantly, but then not say how many other white millionaires you made? Despicable.
Yeah. It sounds like a bit of trickery there.
Bamboozlement, if you will.
That's why we said don't be Mac fooled.
Don't be Mac fooled. Well, I feel good, man. I haven't had a McDouble in a long time. So I feel like I'm on the right side off the rip. But definitely after this information here, fellas, it makes me think twice about, spending my money over there until they get this right.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
As James F. Byrd Jr. said, if not now, when?
When?
And then if not who? It gotta be us. You know what I mean? Like James Brown said, you cut the right one, baby.
That's right. That's right. We need to go ahead and grab his music for this video.
I still got ambitions as a writer.
And Michael Jackson said it too. He said they don't really care about us.
Man, that's real. That's I've
And
seen.
they showing you, blatantly showing you right now, through the systematic racism in the McDonald's franchise system, that they really don't care about the black people and the black franchisees and the black community. They just want to take our money and use it for their own betterment. They're not reinvesting in us. They throwing us some crumbs and all we're supposed to do is say thank you.
Yeah, it's time for black.
We saying no thank you.
Yeah.
It's time to say no thank you, and until you get it right. Give us our fair and equitable distribution, and then we will say thank you. But until then, no thank you.
Well, that'll do it. This is the Equal Justice Now podcast. We will see you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.